This pandemic has changed the world. Margaret W. Wong and Associates, with over 40 years experience in U.S. immigration law, keeps working for you in the midst of adversity. Offices are in Cleveland, New York, Memphis, Atlanta, Columbus, Raleigh, North Carolina, Nashville, Chicago, and Minneapolis. Look after your loved ones and we'll take care of your immigration needs. Please call us at 216-279-3984. That's 216-279-3984.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Juan Carlos Brando, and as usual, we are joining together in this afternoon at this noon while you are maybe having lunch. And we hope that you can enjoy your lunch with the good news that we're bringing from the office of Ms. Margaret W. Wong, who has been an attorney in the immigration field for over 40 years. So thank you for joining us. Feel free to ask any questions regarding to immigration, and Ms. Wong will be happy to answer each one of them. And also, we have a lot of changes right now in the United States. Because of the new administration, they are bringing some changes. They are willing to do an immigration reform, and we hope it can be done and that it can be positive for all our community. So thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for having us today. How do you feel?
I feel great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong. And well, I would like to start by asking you about the proclamations, or maybe not proclamations, the executive orders, the proposals that Mr. President Biden has presented in front of the Congress.
That's right. So basically, two things that President Biden did. One is to present the bill to Senate and Congress for drastic measures. For example, no more 3 or 10-year bar, give DACA kids green cards, give TPS holders green cards, make family 2A cases like children of green card holders, spouses of green card holders into immediate relatives, to take it out of the quota system, the 1.2 million each year, so we can give more other people green cards. Like Board of Court right now is for Latino people, including the Mexicans, have been delayed for 4 years. So these kids are becoming 21, 22, they're still not getting a green card. So these are proposals that we need Senate and Congress. Another thing President Biden is doing right now is to really do a lot of presidential proclamations, executive orders to get rid of Trump did more than 400. Some of the horrible injustice that has been occurring in the past 4 years. Actually, it started under Obama. It didn't really start under Trump, because Obama is so kind that he keep wanting to co-opt the Republicans and co-opt the conservatives into more centrist. And I think President Biden is learning the mistakes. President Biden's first day said, we need to do this. We need to do this virus, also coronavirus, the COVID stuff, and give like a lot of aids, because the Republicans are worried about deficit. So both sides are sort of right. So instead of negotiating over it, of course, they're still negotiating. But that's what President Biden is doing.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them live. Ms. Wong will answer them while we are live today. So we have a good news, and this person is saying, thank you so much, Ms. Wong, because your team has done a great job regarding to my wife case. Her 601 waiver was approved, and I would like to know what the next step is. She is currently in Nigeria.
Nigeria, my gosh, Nigeria is a very, very hard country to get even anything approved. So I presume it's not 601A, 601. What does that mean? That means that I married my wife. I went to Nigeria to marry her. She may or may not have ever come to America. So once the I-130 is filed, you pay $120 to $325, and then you get the interview notice. Nigerian American consulate actually at one time was one of the worst. in my 45 years of practice. And then South Korea became bad, and then China became bad, and still Nigeria is very bad. So I'm glad to hear that. So, and congratulations. So what that means is she already had the first interview. She got the 221G letter. With the 221G letter, we filed the 601 because 601 versus 601A. 601A, you file the approval here, then you update the 2S to 60, then you go out and come back in 1 or 2 weeks. 601 means that for whatever reason, could be fraud, could be preconceived intent, whatever happened, there was something, or he overstayed for more than the 3-year and 10-year bar. That's what Biden is doing. No more 3 and 10-year bar. So you don't need a 601. But for whatever reason, 601 is approved, wife is there. So now we need to make sure the 601 is really approved from America. That's another change of law starting about 10 years ago. In the olden days, USCIS of people around the world, like Rome is a big 601 place. All Taiwan cases goes through Hong Kong for 601, and then later on it went through Singapore. So, but now 601 is going through America now. So once the 601 is approved, America have to inform the American embassy in Nigeria, because Nigeria is not a very, this is too much fraud, and I really don't blame them. So once they got the original approval confirmed, they probably do a second interview. Some American consulates would interview all over again to make sure you have a last year tax return, to make sure the relationship remains good, that we're not divorcing. But another way to do it is they just look at you, smile, and give you, and say, give me your passport. And then in a week, they'll give you your passport back. And now you have that stamp of the IB. That number, in the olden days, they don't give you that number until the airport. But now they'll give you that number. So when you come to America, or before you come to America, you need to pay the $220. That's a third new fee. This time you pay to USCIS. Just go on the web and pay it, and our office will teach you. Congratulations. The hardest part is over. The hardest part for Nigerians is I-130 because of historical injustice, and also 601. So both hard parts are over. Now is the easy part. It's a matter of getting through a final clearance, making sure that America inform, because they don't trust people like us. They only trust their own department. So from US DHS, Homeland Security Department, they have to let US State Department know. And then State Department will reschedule the second interview. If they don't reschedule fast, law firms like ours will have to push them. And
Thank you so much.
Yes, to 60, right.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong. And we have a couple comments coming in right now. One of them is, thank you, Margaret. Keep fighting the good fight, is Munch Bishop. And this other person is saying, what help or proposals could you offer with the Biden administration to facilitate finding and reuniting parents with their children at the border? What is offering Biden?
Okay, so I really think number one, the senator's office actually told us, keep writing down stories, give them facts. Like my neighbor friend have a son from Mexico that came at 16 and a half years old. She would not qualify for DACA, but if you increase the age of DACA to 17, she will qualify. So give them real life experience. We have a woman who actually was raped in America, so it's not an asylum case, have a child, have 2 other children. See, a lot of young girls like that, once they went through hell, they just went through hell. Because it's like a cycle of violence, they hook on to men because they never know better. They never know they could finish university, they could finish high school, they could make a living, start working at Amazon and Walmart for like $12 an hour, $10 an hour, get some health insurance, and then raise it. They never knew. So always go along with these older men, these men who are allegedly supporting them and getting them pregnant. So these are things that, number one, we can do that. We need to write up stories. Do your op-ed pages, write your pages in the newspaper articles. Like I live in Cleveland, Plain Dealer is our largest newspaper. If we live in Cincinnati, is another paper. Get your opinions heard. The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post. So keep writing and also keep reading. If you like the author of that book, you write them a note and give them who you are, tell them. So these are the ways you let your voices be heard, because foreign people like us, we're always busy making a living. We're always working, getting worried about no green card. So we really didn't have the time, and we don't read newspapers because number one, we don't read English. So these are things where your children can help you, because in my days, I remember I couldn't get a good job. I interviewed with the Department of Justice. I interviewed with big law firms. I actually interviewed with Jones Day. Dick Polk is my old friend now, but in those days, he actually called another friend of mine, and they said, now is not the time to hire a Chinese lawyer. That was in the 70s. So, but now they don't look at us because they need us. So times have really changed. So write stories, write letters, let your voice to be heard, do Facebook shows like that. So you let opinion know. Your opinions be known. You could be very conservative. Could be we could have a very organized discourse of our opinion. Read books, read newspapers, call your senator, keep calling. They don't respond to you, you call again, and they will, because right now senators need our help to elect them. And also make sure your district, like right now, Ohio's in trouble because through Democratic Ohio now we become more and more Trump and Republican. So we are in trouble. So you need to know, if you're more Republican, you need to let your Republican senators know or congressmen know how you feel. It's okay. It doesn't matter what party, but that's how you help Biden to talk about separation of families. And sometimes it's not just separation of families. It's also about why the separation of families. How come the notarials couldn't put the families together? Because they don't make enough because they take 10 people, 12 people, 15 people across. If one baby or child hurt the whole group, it's not fair to the group. That's another thing. There's a lot of nuance, and that's why I love my job. There's always story behind the story behind the story.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for sharing these experiences. And yeah, we know people love to hear this, and it's interesting how you go back to the history when they didn't like some kind of attorneys, like they wouldn't hire some because this is from here or this is from there, and it's just time. Life is changing, the world is changing, as you always mention. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences. So the phone number of Ms. Wong is 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984. You feel free to call. They will take care of your case. It doesn't matter where you are from. They speak your language. Over 30 languages are spoken in the office of the attorney Margaret W. Wong, who has been here for over 43 years. And also, she has offices in 9 cities of the United States: Atlanta, Chicago, Cleveland, Columbus, Memphis, Minneapolis, Nashville, New York, and Raleigh, North Carolina. And you can get in touch as well to the phone number 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984, or you can check the website imwong.com. imwong.com is the website that you can visit and see more information. We have another question coming through. This question says, what happens if someone has overstayed their visa? Do they have the right to come back to the United States? What rights do they have?
Nothing about immigration is a right, it's a privilege, because we are foreign nationals. So it's not like I'm a citizen of America, I have the right to a fair trial. I mean, you still need a fair trial. So right is different from privilege. So the question is, I came legally, I overstayed my visa. What could I do? That's a 3 or 10-year bar. If, for example, I came on January 1st of 2017 on a tourist visa, I'm really only good till June 30th on a tourist visa. June, 6 months, you have 6 months. Then if you didn't do an extension prior, then you expired on that day. So I've overstayed, all right? So if you overstay, if you left before December of 2017, you're less than 180 days out of status, so you should be able to come back. But then with what visa? Because whatever the 10-year visa or 5-year visa you have, the next trip, the airport would automatically cancel, because they will find out from the computer, your departure, that you overstayed. So if you overstay 180 days, that's what the 3-year bar. So I cannot come back for 3 years. But even after 3 years, how do I come back? you have to go reapply for tourist visa. But normally the American embassy would not give you a new visa because you overstayed. And that's the reason why it's so important for President Biden. That's why I keep begging everybody, please don't let the southern border people keep coming up, the caravans, the people, to stir people up to come, oh, America's great, because we're not great anymore. I mean, we are great, but so we need the Biden law to come back, because the 3-year 10-year bar is hurting us. And who are they hurting? They're not hurting so much the Chinese, the Indians, the Russian. They're hurting people that's contiguous. There's only 2 contiguous countries to America. It's Mexico on the south and Canada on the north. But Canadians and Americans, we have that relationship that if I go to Canada, I don't need a visa as long as I don't overstay. If Canadians come to America, of course they could now because the borders are closed with a virus, they don't need a visa. So who is 3-year 10-year bar hurting? It's really the Mexicans and the Central Americans and the Peruvians and the Colombians who come up illegally. You see? So make sure the 3-year 10-year bar is gone. Then the answer to this question will be, as long as I left less than, now I'm so used to this 3-year 10-year bar. So as long as I left the country, and as long as at entry they let me come in, and they could and should on discretion, or I can apply for new visa and they let me come back on new visa, then I can come in. It's not 100%, because now I can tell you couldn't come back in if you're overstay a tourist visa. But if the 3-year 10-year bar is approved by President Biden, you will be able to come in if you convince them, I was sick last time, my grandmother was dying, that's why I overstayed. I had cancer, I had a cold, I bought a ticket, I couldn't get there, my car broke down on the way, then you can still come in. But today you cannot come in. That's why the 3-year 10-year bar is really serious. And also the first question on 601A, as I'm repeating myself, 601A, you don't need no more 601A if 3-year 10-year bar is gone.
Yes, it's very, very important. Thank you so much, Ms. Wong. And we have a question very similar. This person says, I am currently in the United States. I am from Mexico. My wife had a baby here in the United States, and we have not received his passport. Our time is expiring on February the 18th, and I am still waiting for the passport, even though we have the birth certificate. I don't know what to do because I cannot leave the country because I don't have his passport, but I don't want to overstay my visa.
Good job. So this is a good case. Number one, if I were you, and I hope you're listening to me, you need to make sure, so you must be upper middle class. You came on a tourist visa with a wife, you gave birth to a baby here. It must be more than 30 days ago, because it takes about 30 days for a newborn to get a birth certificate from a city hall. And now with the 30 days, you can get a passport. Now, one thing is you need to call, I don't know where you live, but like Cleveland, we go through Chicago, New York, big cities have US passport office. So instead of waiting for the post office, the public library to to give you a new passport, you can go directly to a passport office if they open because of virus. That means US Department of State. Number one. Number two is you make sure at the birth of the child, because a lot of hospitals, Catholic hospitals especially, they'll say, oh, because they're used to insurance, they're used on people not have to pay in America for childbirth. Make sure you don't do that. Make sure you don't get on public charge, and make sure you pay with a check or credit card or cash for your child's birth, because next time when you come in, if you bring the baby, or they'll ask, you have a baby born here, you say yes, and they'll ask, did you pay for it? You say no, the hospital did not send me a bill. Now you'll be denied entry because you use public charge, because no hospital in America now is on charity. Even charity, America don't like it. So number one, make sure you pay. And especially if you watch, like you don't do epidural, that's more than I know I represent so many birth people. So epidural is about 2,000 or 3,000. Make sure you don't do that if you're coming here for birth. And make sure, like doctors, there's a flat fee, so you can see a doctor like for the duration of 9 months or 6 months for a certain fee, make sure you negotiate that fee to make sure it's a flat fee, so you have a budget. So the most you pay is maybe 3,000-4,000 for a childbirth, or even 2,000 or 3,000. So make sure, number one. Number two is, if you couldn't get the passport, you need to go to the closest American U.S. Department of State passport office. They'll give it to you like within 3 hours, and that happens a lot to even American people. They went to the airport. Now they realize their passport expired. They forgot their passport. They lose their passport. So I always direct them, because Cleveland is only 6 hours from Chicago and the flight is 45 minutes. We always direct them to Chicago. I'll go to New York. These are all places. I hope I answered your question, and good luck on your new baby.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong. Remember, the phone number is 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984. You can find more information in www.imwong.com is the website that you need to visit. And also on the YouTube channel, there's some very, very important information that is Margaret W. Wong and Associates, LLC. And you will find a bunch of videos that will be very, very interesting for you. So, Ms. Wong, we have another question. This person says, if someone had aggravated felony charge in 1984, it was because of drugs. Can your office help in somehow to reunite this person with his U.S. children? I assume that he was deported.
Right. So it's a good question. It's probably someone who came a long time ago. I started being an immigration lawyer by luck or by chance in 1976. Actually, when I was in law school, I was in a legal clinic who we already started immigration work. So that was in the 70s. So I presume this person is from someone who came from a country that's very, very old. There was a time when a lot of Iraqis came, Iranians came in the 70s, for the Shah. So each generation, like Nigeria, where a lot of Jamaica in the olden days, now it's Colombia. So we have a lot of these kind of cases. And in those days, people don't care. They just go in there and we get deported. And in those days, because number one, we don't really care, because in those days, the enforcement is not bad. Remember, Reagan only did amnestia in 86. This is 84 criminal record. So probably you never had advisement, because advisement on criminal alien issue only came in the late 90s. Sincere case came in 97. So aggravated felony is bad, because once you leave with except 30-gram marijuana for possession, if possession with the intent to distribute or sell is no good. So I'm pretty sure it's a pretty bad case. But one thing you can do, instead of filing the I-130, which means you're doing a green card, and I presume you're like my age, in the 60s, 70s, I'm 70. So we came in that era. So I would do maybe a non-immigrant visa waiver. I would not even do the waiver. I would file for the DS-160, apply for a tourist visa, which they'll deny. If the denial is based on you had a criminal record on aggravated, now you filed a non-immigrant visa waiver. But if they deny on 214B, now you have to prove I have ties to my country. Depends on what country. Nigeria is a very bad country to apply for these kind of waivers, because they just don't want any drugs. And I hope we didn't apply this before, because the last 12 years are very bad for these cases. And another thing is, look at that humanitarian. In Washington, there's a humanitarian parole program, but this more applies to someone who's dying, who's very, very sick, that you need to come to America. That takes about 4 months, and then maybe another way. Humanitarian parole is not to take the place of tourist visa, but it's another way to come. But normally someone who was 84, depends on when you left, when you put up a good fight. Number one, you need to do the FOIA, check the 84 criminal, because number one, even if they come back illegally, they cannot reinstate. Reinstate of old deportation only applies to laws that happened in April 97 that became effective. Actually, November of 96 becoming effective April 97, and because of 1 year perm bar, it came in April 98. So this is 84. So it's not undurable, but you need to do the FOIA, and probably on the computer. It may be a federal case, then at least you have the federal, you look at PESA. But if it's a state case, probably those records are all gone. So I hope you kept the record. So these are things, maybe look at a motion to vacate. Depends on the state. Like in Ohio, where I live, we have 3 reasons for vacate. In those cases, no advisement on vacate. So look at the state you are in. If you since you went back, New York have a one under Bloomberg. They had a wonderful, wonderful department of you only have 1 criminal record, they'll give you a pardon, a waiver. But since Bloomberg left, this mayor, it has not been as good as well. Of course, the city now is very poor and because of the virus. So these are advice I could give you at this time. He can hear us, right?
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong,
No problem.
for this answer. The phone number is 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984. So the next question is from Jagdish Patel. What about the asylum? Are there any changes?
A lot of changes. You have to file within a year. If you have legal entry after 1 year, you can get a work permit, but that happens after August of 2020. If you file more than a year later, you won't get a work permit. But hopefully, Biden would change all that. But the asylum law have really changed, and you do it because there's a reason. Don't just do it because, oh, my friend won, because it's very difficult under Trump, because Trump people are still there. Biden is only there for 10, 20 days. So a lot of changes in asylum.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong. And more questions coming in. And this question comes from a pastor. He says, I am a pastor in an evangelical church. I had R1 visa here, but it already expired and I overstayed because of the relationship with the pastor that brought me was broken. I stayed anyways with my family, and right now I'm thinking about leaving the country to Europe. My question is it a good time to leave now, or should I wait for this new president to pronounce himself about this kind of cases?
As a friend, as someone who have been doing immigration law for 45 years, I would. My job is to tell you you are illegal in this country. You don't belong here. But as a lawyer, as a friend, and as a fellow Christian, I'm a Catholic, now is a bad time to leave, because anytime this new law passed, you have hope, number one. My question to you is, did you ever do the 360 for the pastor job? Because 2 years after tax return and R1, you should file the 360, and they may or may not do a site visit. Depends on if they already did the site visit on R1, then you should file the 485. And did you overstay after 5 years? Because R1 is only good for 5 years. And after that, there's no more R1. Do you qualify for the 482B, the 10-year cancellation of removal? Because 482A is 7 and 5, 482B is 10 years. Do you qualify? What country are you from? Is your country an evangelical country, or is it more like a Catholic country? Because it depends, like Russia is very Orthodox, and it depends on what country you're from. What I would not. I mean, it's stupid because Obama never passed that, or we knew ahead of time we would not have passed. Trump never passed that. Now you're leaving when Biden just come up, and you suffered so much. And make sure you file tax return, because violating immigration law doesn't mean you have to file late tax laws. Make sure you file tax return with a real. You had a R1, so you must have a social. Never say an American citizen. File your tax return with a real social. Attach your wife and the kid's name, so everything is there. At least you get $1,200, $600, and the kids will get the $500. And also, if you didn't file the 360, and depends on how, because employment base, you have 180 days out of status. Family base, no out of status grace. All right. So look at all those loopholes and see if you fit in there. I personally, as someone who represents the law, maybe don't leave until you talk to 10 lawyers. Because each lawyer, you learn something, and we all have different philosophies of practice. And because of the bar, because I'm a member of my bar, so I could not tell you to be illegal. So some lawyers would take it to the extreme and say, oh, you have to leave, 3 or 10 year bar, this and that. The other lawyers who say, oh, but you stayed and wait, what happened? Then why am I staying? Because you are educated, you are a minister, you're the head of your herd. You don't want to be illegal, because if you yourself is violating the laws of the land, why should your herd listen to you? So these are all a personal issue, but as I said, there's also a professional issue, a personal issue, a personal life goal, and then your professional life goal.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for your time. We have a lot of people saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for sharing this knowledge. And for everybody who is joining us today, please visit our YouTube channel. You will find a lot of information from Ms. Wong. Now there are some, we have the podcast and we have the short capsules of the information, just answering one question that you have. So we will have that answer weekly, as just like the podcast, just like everything that Ms. Wong is doing. We're happy that you can share that information, that you can watch, learn, and be interested about what your relief could be in this immigration world. So thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for all you do for people, because you just give the information and people just learn from that. So we have another question. Before perm approval, if the visa is expired, what should I do?
That's a parallel track question. What's my non-immigrant visa status and what's my perm status? Perm, that's how most people in America got green card: doctors, lawyers, teachers, engineers. Perm is a labor cert filing. It takes 5 months to do the prevailing wage. It takes 89 days to 180 days to advertise for a job. Unless you're a professor, you have 1.5 years, all right? And then you also file the perm, and that's a priority date. So for example, you're India and China is very difficult, because those countries, we have so many smart people that they're waiting in line. So then when I'm waiting in line, my H1 expired, my tourist visa expired, my student visa expired, my O1 expired, my non-immigrant visa, so it's not balanced. Life is filled with balances. My personal goal have to coincide with my professional goals. Do I want children? If I want children, does my husband help me? We have to balance our goals. So in this case, what he's saying is that, oops, my non-immigrant visa status expired, be it H1 or O1 or whatever. In the meantime, my perm is approved and I'm ready to get my green card, because I-140 is not that hard to approve. But then I couldn't get my green card now, because as I said earlier, you are only allowed 180 days out of status, and this kid must be out of status for 200 days. So what do I do now? So that's why you need to look at this side. That's why I always tell my young people, you have to make sure that your life is balanced. Be it, if I get pregnant, if I don't have an abortion, what happens? If I have an abortion, I'm not recommending getting an abortion. So these are things that you have to look at, is the pros and cons. So that's the question. So it depends on what visa did you have that was denied. Did you file an extension of the age because you're free 270 days to work when the extension is pending? Could you have filed a 45 now to cut off the 180 days? And then another thing a lot of my clients did, in fact, this morning, where Mr. Juan and I were talking to a client, and that's exactly a prompt. He's so smart. He got filed EB1. Here, his tourist visa expired. He filed one extension to give him 1 year. On this side, before the first tourist visa expired, he filed EB11 and 45. 45 gave him adjustment of status. EB11 denied, same day he did EB2, but 45, he used the old 45 now, but this side already expired in 12 months. This side expired 2.5 years later. Because the lawyer was expecting, and he was expecting I-140 to be approved. He's really smart. I would do the same thing. But now 45 denied. Anytime you are denied here, if you leave the country, 180 days start on this side. But if you don't leave, your 180 days starts on this side. See, that's why it's unlawful presence, illegal stay. Those are all the legal stuff. So now he's stuck out of the country somewhere else. How can we bring him back? These are the same questions. And that's why it's fun what we do.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ms. Wong. And a lot of good comments coming in today. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And Ms. Wong, it's time to dismiss for today, but I'll see you next Wednesday, probably in person, just overcoming all of these issues that we're facing nowadays, but staying positive and knowing that we will have better times coming our way. So thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for your answers today. Thank you. And for everybody who is joining us today and who joined us in this show, don't forget to call 216-279-3984. 216-279-3984. Ms. Margaret W will be happy to answer all of your questions, and the office will be ready to answer in your language. We have Hindi, we have English, Italian, Vietnamese, Chinese, Korean, Russian, Albanese, Spanish, French, German. Well, a lot of languages in the law firm, which is really, really exciting. So thank you so much, and please give us a call, 216-279-3984, 216-279-3984. See you next time.
This pandemic has changed the world. Margaret W. Wong and Associates, with over 40 years experience in U.S. immigration law, keeps working for you in the midst of adversity. Offices are in Cleveland, New York, Memphis, Atlanta, Columbus, Raleigh, North Carolina, Nashville, Chicago, and Minneapolis. Look after your loved ones and we'll take care of your immigration needs. Please call us at 216-279-3984. That's 216-279-3984.